Thank you for coming by and stopping to listen to 60-second shorts. This is this week's compilation, plus an extra one on there added on just for fun. Hope you enjoy. There was a gremlin who lived in aisle 23. He had a love for two things, apples and green tea. Every day he would sneak out of his hiding spot and scavenge for the freshest apples and the finest of green teas. He was always careful to avoid the humans who wandered the aisles, preferring to watch them from a distance. But one day, his love for apples and green tea got him in trouble. As he was reaching for an apple on a high shelf, he accidentally knocked over a jar of green tea, spilling it all over the floor. A human nearby noticed the commotion, not knowing what it was, began to chase him down the aisles. Terrified, he darted between the shelves, knocking over cans and boxes as he went. He knew he had to find a way to escape before they caught him. He raced towards the back of the store, where he found an open window, and without a second thought, he leaped out the window and landed on the ground outside, scampering away into the nearby forest. Still clutching the apples he managed to grab. From that day on, he stayed away from there, content to live in the woods, eating the apples and green tea in peace. In the dark depths of the ocean, there was a being beyond comprehension, and for centuries sailors had whispered the tales of this creature, warning others to stay away from his depths and dark waters where it dwelled. But one day an adventurer named Emma set out to explore an uncharted depths of the ocean. She had heard the stories of the eldritch horror, but was determined to uncover the truth for herself. As she descended deeper and deeper into the inky blackness, Emma felt a sense of growing unease as she sensed something was watching her, something ancient and powerful that dwarfed her in size and scope. Finally, as she reached the deepest parts of the ocean, where she saw a looming figure in the distance, an eldritch horde, writhing in massive tentacles and eyes that seemed to stretch out to infinity. And in the middle of this there was a door, and with a trembling hand, Emma reached out and knocked. To her surprise, the door opened and light poured from its depths. With the fear driving her, she stepped forward. A sense of dread washed over her as the door. Come on down to Zemo's Discounted Pawn Shop. It's a unique place located at the heart of the city. The shop is ran by me, Zemos. You know it's me because I'm the only tall, lengthy man with a unique smile and a glint in my eye. I can sell you anything your heart desires or just a used TV. I take everything in from trade, from the mundane to the bizarre, and always have a solution for every problem. If you need something badly enough, I, Zemos, will make it happen. Whether you want a new car, a rare book, or even someone to fall in love with you, I, Zemos, has a solution. The shelves are lined with all kinds of strange and unusual items, as well as anything else you'd find in a normal pawn shop. Some of the objects are bizarre, and that no one could guess what they're for, and others are unique. It's like they could belong in a museum. But if you have something for trade, I, Zemos, would happily make the trade. Just make sure it's an equal trade after all. So come on down to Zemo's Discounted Pawn Shop. As for Zemo, the man clicks over to the evening news. One day, a girl named Lily came upon a garden, but this garden had not been here just the day before. But seeing all the beautiful flowers and enchanting fields, she felt the pull inside herself to come and enjoy the garden. She cautiously approached the garden and stepped on the path, being careful not to step on the grass, but missing the sign that says do not step on the grass. She marveled at the sights and sounds around her, amazed by this beautiful place. But as she was walking, a butterfly flew and landed on the grass. She instinctively stepped forward to get closer to look, and suddenly, beneath her feet started to shake and tremble, and a loud voice boomed out, "How dare you step on me? You have disturbed the peace of the garden." Lily was surprised and startled and stepped back, apologizing profusely. "I'm sorry," she said. "I didn't mean to upset you." An old gardener walked up behind her, putting his hand on her shoulder. "The grass doesn't like to be walked on. If you can please stay on the path." There once lived a teddy bear named Mr. Cuddles. He was no ordinary teddy bear, for he possessed a unique ability to help children overcome their fears, whether it be the world of darkness, the world of monsters, or any other world that needed conquering. One child he went to, the cloud of darkness and fear that swam around him was larger and more dense than any other children he had helped before. Mr. Cuddles didn't know what he was walking into. But once the child held his hand, a glimmer of light shone from the touch. As night came, the child held Mr. Cuddles close as the wind started to roar and the trees started to bang. But with Mr. Cuddles by his side, he felt stronger and the dark room wasn't so dark. Going to the blinds, he peeked out, holding Mr. Cuddles tight, seeing that it was just the wind in the trees outside hitting the window. Feeling relieved and going back to bed, he slept with less worries than he had ever done before, knowing that Mr. Cuddles was there watching over him. Once again, Mr. Cuddles is the destroyer of worlds. At the outskirts of a small town stood a lonely scarecrow. Its tattered clothes fluttered in the wind as it stood guard over the fields. But this scarecrow was not like the others in the surrounding fields. It had a plague doctor's mask affixed to its face. The town folks were afraid of the scarecrow, but they couldn't explain why. Some say they heard strange whispering coming from it at night. Others claimed they saw it moving when no one was watching, but no one dared investigate further. One day, a boy named Timmy decided to confront his fear and approach the scarecrow. As he got closer, he noticed the mask of the scarecrow's face seemed alive. Its beady eyes followed him, and the beak of the mask opened and closed as if it was breathing. Suddenly, the scarecrow lunged forward with its flailing arms. Timmy tried to run, but the scarecrow was too quick. It grabbed him with its long, bony fingers and pulled him in close. The mask of the scarecrow opened once again, revealing sharp rows of teeth. It let out a bone-chilling laugh as it sank its teeth into Timmy's neck. The boy screamed in terror as his life slowly slipped away. There was a girl who had the longest hair in school. Her hair was so long that it trailed behind her like a shimmering river of gold, cascading down her back in gentle waves. While some of her classmates admired her long hair, others used it as a way to bully her. A group of mean girls at the school would gather around her during recess and use her hair to play jump rope. They would laugh cruelly as they messed up and yanked on her hair, causing her to cry out in pain, but making her do it all the same. Despite the bullying, she refused to cut her hair. She loved the way it flowed behind her and made her feel more connected to her late mother, who also had long hair. But the bullying continued. She began to feel more and more isolated. As this went on day after day, her hair became frayed and lost its vibrance, which only made the girls make fun of her more, dragging her down, making her cry just at night to brush it, losing the will to take care of it. To bring back her joy, she did decide to cut it, but she was never happier. A discharged soldier had nothing to live on, and he did not know how to make his way. So he went into the forest, and when he had walked for a short time, he met a little man who turned out to be the devil. The little man said, "What ails you? You seem to be very sorrowful." The soldier said, "I'm hungry. I have no money." The devil says, "If you will hire yourself to me and be my serving man, you shall have enough for all your life. You shall serve me for 7 years, and after that you shall be free again. But one thing I must tell you is that you must not wash, comb, or trim yourself, or cut your hair or your nails, or wipe the water from your eyes." The soldier said, "All right, if there's no other help for it." And off he went with the little man, who straightway led him down into hell. Then he told him what to do. He had to poke the fire under the kettles wherein the hell broth was stewed, kept, keep the house clean, drive all the sweeping behind the doors, and see that everything was in order. But if he once peeped into the kettle, it would go ill with him. And the soldier said, "Good, I will take care." And then the old devil went out again on his wanderings, and the soldier entered upon his duties, made the fire, and swept the dirt well behind the door, just as he had been bidden. When the old devil came back again, he looked to see if all had been done, appeared satisfied, and went forth a second time. The soldier now took a good look on everything side, and the kettle was still standing around hell, with the mighty fires bellowing, and on the inside they were boiling and sputtering. He would have given anything to look inside, if the devil had not particularly forbidden him. At last he could no longer restrain himself, slightly raised the lid of the kettle, and peeped in, and there he saw his former corporal sitting. "Ah, old bird," he said, "do I meet you here? You once had me in your power, and now I have you." And he quickly let the lid fall, poked the fire, and added fresh logs. After that, he went to the second kettle, raised it just a little, and peeped in, and there sat his former ensign. Ah, old bird, I see you there. You once had me in your power, and now I have you. He closed the lid again, and fetched yet another log to make it really hot. Then he wanted to see who might be sitting in the third kettle, and who should it be but his general. Ah, old bird, I see you there. Once you had me in your power, now I have you. And he fetched the bellows and made hellfire blaze right underneath him. And so he did his work for 7 years in hell, did not wash, comb, or trim himself, or cut his hair or nails, or wash the water out of his eyes, and for 7 years seemed so short to him, though he had been only a year and a half. Now when the time fully gone, the devil came and said, Well, Hans, what have you done? I poked the fire under the kettles, and I have swept all the dirt behind the doors. But you have peeped into the kettles as well. It is lucky for you that you added fresh logs to them, or else your life would have been forfeited. Now that your time's up, you will go home again. Yes, said the soldier. I should very much like to see what my father is doing. The devil said, In order that you may receive the wages you have earned, go and fill your knapsack full of the sweepings, and take it home with you. You must also go unwashed and uncombed, with long hair on your head and beard, and with uncut nails and dim eyes. And when you are asked where you came, you must say, From hell. And when you are asked, Who are you? You must say, The Devils Sooty Brother, and my king as well. The soldier held his peace and did as the devil bade him, but he was not all satisfied with his wages. Then, as soon as he was up in the forest again, he took his knapsack from his backpack and emptied it. But upon opening it, the sweepings had become pure gold. I should have never expected that, he said, and he was well pleased, and entered the town. The landlord was standing in front of the inn, and when he saw the soldier approaching, he was terrified, because Hans looked such a horrible sight, worse than a scarecrow. He called to him and asked, Where hence have you come? From hell. Who are you? The Devil's Sooty Brother, and my king as well. But the host would not let him enter. But when Hans showed him the gold, he came and unlatched the door himself. Hans then ordered the best room, and attendants ate and drank his fill, but neither washed nor combed himself as the devil had bidden him, and at last laid down to sleep. But the knapsack was full of gold remained before his eyes and landlord, and left him no peace. During the night he crept in and stole it away. The next morning, however, when Hans got up and wanted to pay the landlord and further his travels, behold, his knapsack was gone. But when he composed himself and thought, You have been fortunate and no fault of your own, and straightway went back to hell, complained of his misfortune to the devil, and begged for his health. The devil said, Seat yourself. I will wash you, comb you, and trim you, cut your hair, your nails, and wash your eyes for you. And when he was done with him, he gave him a knapsack again full of sleepings, and said, Go and tell the landlord that he must return your money, or else I will come and fetch him, and he shall poke the fires in your place. Hans went up to the landlord and said, You have stolen my money. If you do not return it, you shall go to hell in my place. You shall go to hell in my place, and will look as horrible as I. Then the landlord gave him the money, and more beside, only begging him to keep the secret. And Hans was now a rich man. He set out on his way home to his father, brought himself a shabby smock to wear, a stroller to make some music, and for he had learned to do that while he was in the devil's hell. There was, however, an old king of the country before whom he had to play, and the king was so delighted with the play that he promised him his eldest daughter in marriage. But when she heard that she was to be married to a common fellow in a smock, he said, I'd rather do that. I would go to the deepest water. Then the king gave him the youngest, who was quite willing to do so and pleased her father. Thus the Devil's Sooty Brother got the king's daughter, and when the king aged and died, the whole kingdom likewise.